Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel Milestone Creator. In this video, I will share with you the top 10 most important scenario based Power BI interview questions that were asked by the TCS interviewer during the interview process of Power BI developer job role. Alright? And let me tell you, this questions was provided to me by one of my friend who is currently working at Capgemini and recently given the interview for Power BI developer job role at TCS. Okay, that's why I thought of creating a video on this so that everyone can be aware about these scenario based questions so that it will be more helpful for all of them. Alright. And let me tell you another thing, this video is the combination of all the above 10 scenario based Power BI interview questions that I have uploaded before in this playlist. So previously if you have watched those videos then you can ignore this one. Alright. So let's discuss those top 10 interview questions along with answers one by one. But before that, if you are new to this channel, then do subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with all the upcoming useful videos. Alright? So, before moving into the questions, let me show you the data. Okay? And here you can see this is one table called as the sales table, and I have imported this sales table, okay, into the Power BI desktop environment. And this sales table contain total 7 columns, that is sales ID, sales date, customer ID, quantity, value, country, and city. Okay, these are the 7 columns that we have inside this sales table. Then now let's go to the report view, and here you can see this is one matrix visual. Okay, and inside this matrix visual I have taken country and the city so that it will look like a hierarchy. Okay, here you can see this is the country column, and if I will expand this inside this country India, I can see these are all the city. All right, then in the value sections, I have taken the sum of quantity. This is the sum of quantity column, and this is the sum of value column. Okay, these two columns I have taken in the value sections. All right. It means if I will tell you this matrix visual is showing the aggregate value of the quantity and the value on the basis of the country and city. All right. Now our requirement is that in this matrix visual we have to create another column over here called as the calculate value. Okay, and in that particular column we will show the data. If it will be in collapse mode, it means if the row are in collapse mode, at that time that column will show the data on the basis of this sum of value. Okay, and if the row are in expand mode, at that time instead of showing these things we want to see the aggregations value of the quantity on the below part of this total value. Okay, and this will be for all the row on this particular country column. Okay, so let me show you the output how it should be look like. Okay, for that just expand this. Okay, and drag this calculate value. I have already created this measure for all of you. Okay, so we have to see how we can create this measure. All right, but before that let me drag this calculate value into this. Okay, and now here you can see this will be the output. It means if the row are in the collapse mode, at that time whatever value that is available in the sum of value, that same value should be reflected on this particular column. Okay, but if it will be in the expand mode, at that time here you can see this sum of value contain the total value. Okay, and here these are the aggregations value on the basis of this particular cities, right? But our requirement is that when it will be in the expand mode, at that time here it will be show the aggregations value of this quantity. Okay, so let me explain again. If this particular row are in the collapsed form, at that time the value should look like this. Okay, whatever value is available on this sum of value, that should reflect over here. Okay, but if it will be in the expand form, at that time this value will be reflected here. This is the first thing, and instead of showing this data, we need this data on the below sections of this particular value. Okay, so this is the requirement. So let's see how we can achieve this column. So first understand why we are creating this column, because by the help of this single column we can show the data for these two columns, right? Because this is the aggregations value that is coming from here, and these are the aggregation quantity that is coming from this particular column. All right, so instead of showing these two column, we can only show this column so that it will be very easy for the user to understand, right? These are the quantity and these are the value. So let's see how we can do this. So for that, first of all, we have to create one matrix. Okay, so just expand this table, then right click on it, then click on this new measure. All right, then rename it as true slash f. Okay, then you have to give the equal to symbol. Then here you have to use another dex functions that is called as the has one value. Okay, and this has one value. Take only one column as the argument and it returns the true when there's only one value in that specified column. All right, so here we have to enter the city name because we have to identify if the record contain the city name, then it should be true, otherwise it should show as false value. Okay, then click enter. Then drag this true and false measure into this value section. Okay, and here you can see these value are showing as the false because here in this particular country column it is showing the country name. But if you will expand this at that time, here you can see these are all the city, right? So our, as per our requirement, if it will be city, it means if the row is showing the data for city, then it should be true, otherwise it should be false. Okay, now again what we have to do, we have to create another measure. Okay, so just right click on this particular table, then click on this new measure. Okay, then rename it as calculate underscore value. Okay, then equal to, and here we have to write the if function first, and inside that if function we have to use the dex functions that is has one value. Okay, and then inside this parenthesis we have to give the column name that is city. Okay, and just close the bracket, then give the comma, and again we have to use the dex functions called as sum. Okay, then inside this parenthesis we have to give the column name that is quantity. Okay, then click enter, then close the bracket, and again give the comma, and then if it is false, then here we have to give the value as the sum of the value. All right, then click enter, then close the bracket, again close the bracket, and click enter. All right, and here you can see we have successfully created a measure called as the calculate value. So what is the meaning of this calculated value? So let me explain what I have written here. If has one value of the city column, it means if it is city column, then we have to give the output as the sum of quantity. Otherwise, we will give the output as the sum of value. Okay. And now if I will drag this calculated value measure into these value sections, if it is in the collapse mode, here you can see this is the sum of value 8001.75, and here you can see this particular new column also contain the value as 8001.75, correct? But if I will expand this, here you can see instead of this value, here I am able to see the quantity, right? In this quantity column you can see this is the sum of quantity, and in this particular column here you can see if you will expand this India, then here we are able to see this sum of quantity, right? But here it is the sum of value, right? So in this one particular column we can show the data for these two columns, right? Here this is the sum of value, and here this is the sum of quantity, but previously it was showing as the sum of value, and these are also the aggregate value of the value column on the basis of this country. But now it is showing the quantity column here, but now it is showing the aggregate value of the quantity. Okay, and this is the aggregate value of the total cells, right? So in this way we can achieve our requirement. All right, so before moving into the questions part, let me show you I have imported two tables, that is customer table and the sales table. Okay, so if you want to see the data what exactly it contain, then click on this table view. Okay, and this is the customer table, and this customer table contain two column, that is customer ID and name column. All right, then the next table is called as the sales table, and this sales table contain the ID for this sales table. Okay, and this is the customer ID, and this is the amount that has been spent by the customer. Okay, and now if you want to see the relationship between these two tables, then just click on this model view, and here you can see this is a sales table and this is a customer table, and these two tables has been linked with each other by the help of this customer ID. Okay, because in customer table the customer ID is a primary key and here it is the foreign key. All right, then just click on this report view to see the table here so that it will be easy to recall. Okay, this is a customer table, it contains the customer ID and the name, and this is a sales table, that is ID, customer ID, and the sum of amount. All right, so now out of these two tables, whatever data is available on this two table, I have just created that same thing here. Okay, so don't be confused, same thing is available here also. Okay, so now my requirement is that we have to generate a new table. Okay, we have to generate a new table from these two existing table, that is customer and the sales table, right? Where the new table should have only the record from the customer table that does not match with any record in the sales table. Okay, so now just by looking into these two tables, you can imagine the output. Right here, these are the customer ID 1 2 3 4, and in this sales table the customer ID is only 1 and 2, right? So these 3 and 4, these two records are not available in this particular sales table. It means Neeraj and Shreya, these two persons has not purchased anything, right? That's why their record, yeah, it means the customer ID 3 and 4 is not available in this particular sales table. Got it? So the output should give you the result as the 3 Neeraj, 4 and the Shreya. Okay, let me show you the output. So here you can see this is the output table for us. Okay, so we have to create this table from these two table. Okay, where the new table have only the record from the customer table that does not match with any record in the sales table. So this is the requirement. All right, so now let's see how we can achieve this. Got it? So as for the questions, or we can say as per the requirement, we have to create a new table, right? So to create a new table, what you have to do, first of all, you have to click on this table view. Okay, then click on this new table. Okay, and then you can rename this as difference. So difference table, okay, equal to, now first of all we have to use one dex functions called as the filter. Okay, because we have to filter the record from the customer table. As per the requirement, the all the outputs should come from the customer table, right? That's why we are using the filter dex functions on this customer table. Okay, and these filter functions take two arguments, that is table name and filter expression. Then now again we have to use the not functions. Okay, so here it is, just click enter, then again open the bracket, and inside this bracket we have to use another dex function called as content. Okay, so this is the dex functions content, and these dex functions take the argument as a table name, then column 1 and column 2. All right, and it returns the table if there exists at least one row where all columns have specified values. All right, so here we will take the table name as the cells. All right, then give the comma, then again here we have to enter the customer ID from the sales table, then give the comma, and again we have to write the another column name, that is customer ID from the customer table. Okay, then close the bracket, again close the bracket, again close the bracket, and click enter. All right, and here you can see we have successfully created a new table that is called as the reference table, and this reference table contain two columns, that is customer ID column and name column. Okay, and these value are only coming from the customer table, which is not available in the sales table, right? So let me explain the dex functions that I have written here. It means here I have used the filter dex function for the customer table, where it does not contain any record from the sales table. Okay, and here this sales table and this customer table has been linked on the basis of the customer ID column of the sales table and customer ID column of the customer table. That's why we have written these text functions, that is filter customer table that is not contain any record in the sales table, where the customer ID column of the sales table is linked with customer ID column of the customer table. Okay, now let's move to the report view. Okay, then just copy any particular table from here. Okay, then drag it to here. Okay, then here in this table just remove the data from here. Okay, then click on this difference table that we have recently created and drag the customer ID and name column into this column section. Got it? Now here you can see this is the output, but still we are able to see the wrong value here because here the customer ID, it has taken the count. So right click on it, then click on this don't summarize. Okay, and here you can see it contains the record of 3 Neeraj, 4 and Shreya, right? Because these are the two peoples called as Neeraj and Shreya. Those two customer are available in this customer table, but those are not available in the sales table. That's why the output is looking like this. That's why in the output sections we are getting those two records. Okay, there is 3 Neeraj and 4 and Shreya. Got it? So in this way, you can create a new table that should have only the record from the customer table that does not match with any record from the sales table. All right. So before moving into the questions, let me show you this is one data set called as the sales table. Okay. And if you want to see the data, just click on this table view. And this sales table contain two columns. One is product name and another is a sales amount. All right. These are the two columns that we have in this sales table. Okay. So based on these two columns of the sales table, we want to create, it means we have to create a column chart. Okay. So in this column chart, in the x-axis, we have to take the product name from this sales table. Okay. And in the y-axis, it means here, we will take the sales amount. So after selecting this column chart, we have dragged this product name into the x-axis and we have dragged the sales amount into the y-axis, and then the output will look like this. Okay. So now our requirement is that in this column chart, we want to see the x-axis value in this particular chart in the order of refrigerator first. It means the first column should show the data for the refrigerator, then second column should show the data for the TV, then third one is for mobile phone, then AC, then cooler. Okay, it means this x-axis sequence will be in this order. It means first bar should show for the refrigerator, then second one should show the data for the TV, then mobile phone, then AC, then last bar should show the data for the cooler. Okay, so let me show you the output. Okay, so that it will be easy to understand. All right. So now here you can see this is the output. Okay, so previously when we are dragging the product name in the x-axis and sales amount in the y-axis, the chart is looking like this, right? And the sequence of this x-axis is by default in this sequence. Okay, but our requirement is that we have to show the refrigerator first, okay, instead of second. Then we want to see the TV data in the second column, then in the third column we want to see the mobile data, then in the fourth column we want to see the AC, and the last one is for cooler. Okay, so the sequence of this bar will on the basis of this refrigerator, TV, mobile phone, AC and cooler. So anyhow we want to sort this value in this sequence or in this order. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. So let me remove this image from here first. Okay, so now to achieve the result, we have so many different way by the help of which we can make that sequence. But the easiest way is, first of all, we have to go to this home tab, and inside this here we can have options called as the enter data. But before that, you have to go to this sales table. Okay, and inside this sales table here you can see these are the product name. Okay, so out of this product name you have to find out all the distinct value, but by default on this particular table this product name contain all the value in distinct way. It means all the value are appearing only for once, right? But by default on this particular table this product name contain all the value in distinct form. It means all the value are appearing only for once, right? If it is having the duplicate value, then you have to first of all find out all the distinct value from this product name column of the sales table. Okay, then you have to again go to this report view, then you have to click on this enter data tab. Then you can see this type of pop-up over here. Then what you have to do in the first column, you have to rename it as product name. Okay, because we want to sort the product name. Okay, that's why we are renaming the first column as the product name, and here you have to enter all the distinct value, okay, whatever is available in the product name of the sales table column. So these are the value, right? So let me enter all this name over here, okay. So here you can see whatever value is available on the product name column of the sales table, those value I have written on this particular column, okay. But remember, whatever value that is available on the product name column of the sales table, that should be same as it is. You have to write the same name on this particular product name column as well. After that, you have to check the sequence. After that, you have to click on this plus icon, and here you have to rename it as the order. All right, and then here you have to give the order for all this product, okay. So as per the requirement, first bar should show the data for the refrigerator, right? So you have to assign the refrigerator as the one, okay. Then next is TV, right? So you have to give the order number 2 to TV, okay. Then third is mobile phone, so here you have to give the number as 3. All right, then AC, so here you have to enter the 4. Then cooler should be come at the last, so you have to give the order number as 5. All right, then here you have to rename it as the sort table, okay. Then click on this load button, and here you can see we have successfully created a sort table. And if you will expand this, inside this you can see we have two columns, that is order and the product name, right? And in the sales table also we have two columns, that is product name and the sales amount, okay. Then the next thing that we have to do is you have to go to this model view, and then here you have to create the relationship between these two tables, okay. But here you can see this relationship is already by default created by the Power BI, right? That is on the basis of product name, correct? So everything is okay. Then go to this report view again, then just click on this particular chart, okay. Then control C, do control plus V to paste that particular chart, okay. Then just give the alignment. Then in this particular chart we have to give the sequence to this particular x-axis, right? So that particular x-axis should be in the sequence of this, correct? So here what we will do, this product name column is coming from the sales table. So now we will remove this product name from the sales table, and we will drag this product name from the sort table, okay. This is the sort table and this is the product name. So we have to drag the product name column from the sort table and put it in the x-axis, okay. And now here also you are able to see this sequence is as per the previous one. So how can we achieve the sequence like this? For that, first of all, you have to click on this particular product name column, okay. Then once you will click on this, automatically it will take you to this column tools tab, and inside this, here you can see a options called as the sort by, right? So just click on this drop down, then click on sort by order, okay. Order means this column. In this column we have given the order to this all this product name, right? So here you have to select the order column, and then again click on this particular chart, okay. Then remove this product name, and again drag the same product name column into this x-axis from the sort table. And now here you can see this is the sequence as per our requirement, right? Refrigerator should come first. Here you can see this is the refrigerator, then TV, then mobile phone, then AC, then cooler, okay. Here you can see the last column is showing the data for the cooler, right? So in this way we can give a order, or we can give a sequence to x-axis as for our requirement, okay, and we can achieve our goal. So here you can see this is the first scenario based questions, and the question is, suppose you have a table called as the customer, and inside this customer table you have two columns like customer ID and name column, okay. And out of these two column we want to count the total numbers of customer in that particular customer table. So how can we do that? So for that you have to use the count rows dex function, okay, and this dex functions take the argument as the table, okay. And here the table name is customer, so we can write the dex functions like count row, and inside this bracket you have to pass the table name, that is customer, okay. And it will return the total count of the rows in the customer table. It means it will indicating the number of customers, okay. Total number of rows is equal to total number of customers in this customer table, Okay, so in this way we can find out the total number of customer in that customer table. Okay, so this is the first question. And the next question is, suppose you have a table called as the sales. Okay, and inside this sales table we have two columns, that is product ID and the region. All right, and you want to count the number of distinct products sold in each region. This is the requirement. Got it? So for that, you have to use the distinct count dex function. All right. And remember, distinct count dex functions take the argument as the column name. Got it? So here, as per the questions, we have to find out the total number of distinct product, right? So we can give the argument as the product ID, by the help of which we can easily find out the total number of distinct product. Correct? And here you can see this is the distinct count dex function, and inside this bracket we have given the column name as the product ID of the sales table. Okay, and it will give the result as the total number of distinct product. It means it will return the count of unique value in the product ID column and give the number of different product that has been sold in the specific region. Got it? Then the next question is, suppose you have a table called as the product, and inside this product table we have two columns, that is product ID and description. Okay, and out of these two columns you want to count the number of products that have no description specified. So how can you do that? For that you have to use the dex functions called as the count blank. And remember, this count blank dex functions returns the count of blank value in the descriptions column. Okay, and it gives the number of product without descriptions. All right, so for that we have to use the dex functions, that is count blank, and inside this bracket we have to pass the column name as the description column of the product table. Okay, then the next question is, suppose we have a table called as the order, and inside this order table it contains two columns, that is order ID and customer ID. And based on these two columns we want to count the number of order placed by the customer. Okay, so how can you get that? For that you have to use the count dex function, and count dex functions return the number of non-blank values in the order ID column, including the number of order placed. All right, so to get the result you have to use the count dex functions, and inside the bracket we have to pass the column name as order ID column of the orders table. Okay, and then it will give the result as the count of number of the order placed by the customers. Okay, okay, so these are the four scenario based Power BI interview questions that has been asked by the TCS interviewer during the recruitment process of Power BI developer for entry level people. Got it? Before moving into the questions, let me show you the data set that I have already imported into this Power BI desktop environment, that is called as a table 1. Okay, and if you really want to see the data, then just click on this table view, and this here you can see this table 1 table contain only three columns, that is date column, state column and sales column. Okay, so this is the sales amount that has been sold out in different state in different date. Okay, and this date column contain the data from 2021 to today's date. It means today is the 30th November 2023. Okay, so based on these three columns we have to find out the top 5 state based on the sales value. And next question is that you have to set the default slicer selections to the current year, and that should be dynamically. Okay, so let me show you the output how it should be look like. Okay, so this is the final output. All right, here you can see these are the top 5 state based on the sales amount, and this is the slicer where we are able to see the current year. Correct? And remember, the requirement is that whenever the user will open this Power BI report, at that time this current year will by default selected. Okay, so today is the 30th November 2023. So year is 2023. That's why in place of current year, it means in place of 2023, it is showing the result as the current year. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the 30th November 2023, right? So here year is 2023. So in place of 2023, it is showing the current year. And after 1 month, when it will be complete 2023 and it will come as 2024, at that time here the 2023 will come like this, and in place of 2024 it will show the current year dynamically. Okay, So in place of 2024, it will show the current year, and 2023 will come like this. All right. And remember, this should be always dynamically. You do not need to every time come to this particular slicer and you have to select this current year and you can publish that. Not like that. It should be automatically, it should be dynamically. So this is the requirement. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. So let me tell you how we can achieve our goal. Okay, so as you can see here, first requirement is that we have to find out the top 5 state based on the sales value. Correct. So for that, first of all, you have to click on this dark column chart. Okay, then here in place of x-axis you have to give the state column, and in place of the y-axis we have to track this sales column. Okay, and here you can see this is the output of sum of sales by state. Got it? But our requirement is that we have to find out the top 5 state based on the sales value. So to get the top 5 result, what you have to do, first of all you have to click on this visualization, then click on this filter sections, and here we can see a options, or we can see a column called as the state, right? So just click on this drop down, then here in place of base filtering you have to select the top n. Okay, then here you have to enter the 5 because our requirement is top 5. Correct, that's why here we have to enter the 5, and in place of value you have to enter this sales column. Okay, then click on this apply filter. All right, and here you can see these are the top 5 state based on the sales value. Got it? So in this way we can achieve our first goal, that is top 5 state based on the sales value. All right, now our next goal is we have to create a dynamic slicer over here, right? So just click on this slicer. Okay, and here we can drag the year column. Correct. So if you will drag the year column inside this slicer, then click on this format sections, then go to this selection setting, and here in place of this we can give the vertical list. All right, and now here you can see this is the slicer, but here we are able to see 2020, 2021, 2022 and 2023, but we are not able to see the current year like this dynamically for the current year, that is 2023. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. Okay, so for that, first of all you have to go to this transform data. Okay, to go to this Power Query editor, and here you can see this is a table 1 and it contains 3 columns, that is date, state and sales, right? So just right click on this date column, then duplicate this column, then right click on it, then go to this transform, and here you have to select the year. All right, then rename this column as year. All right, then click enter. In this way, first of all, we have to create one column called as a year from this date column. Okay, then to achieve our goal we have to create another custom column over here. Okay, so for that, simple click on this add column, then click on this custom column, and then here you can see this type of pop-up over here. All right, so just click on it, then write down this code over here. So let me explain this M query that I have written here. Don't worry, this is the simple one. Okay, and here I have used only 3 functions. First one is datetime.local now. Okay, these functions give the result as the today's date. All right, and from this I want to extract the year. So to extract the year from the today's date in M language we have to use the date.year. Okay, so insert from this highlighted area we are comparing whether our today's year is equal to the year column that is exist in this table 1 or not. Okay, so if today's year is equal to the year that is available on this year column, then we have to write current year, otherwise we have to give the same year value that is exist in this year column. Okay, but remember here you can see we have converted this year value into the text format, because in this custom column when it will be the current year, it means if the current year is equal to the year value, then we have to write the current year, and this is in the text format. That's why we have to convert the year value of this custom column into the text format as well. That's why we have used this text dot from m functions to convert this year into the text format. All right, then just click on this OK button, and here you can see we have successfully created another custom column. And if you click on this drop down, and here you can see now we are able to see 2021, 2022, and current year, that is 2023, right? So wherever this year column contain 2023, okay, so at that time the custom column will show as the current year. Got it? That's why we have written that m functions to create this custom column. Okay, so let me clear this filter, and now here you can see wherever this other year is there, at that time same value is present on this custom column. Got it? So now just click on this home tab, then click on this close and apply. And now as you can see here, we have successfully created one new column that is called as the custom column, right? So in this slicer visual, instead of taking this year column, we can drag this custom column into this field section. And now here you can see these are the year 2020, 2021, 2022, and in place of 2023 we are able to see the current year, right? And in near future, when the year will be changed to 2024, at that time here we will able to see 2023 like this, and for 2024 we can see the current year like this, and it is completely dynamic and we do not need to change it every time. Okay, so to make the selected value in this particular slicer into the current year, what you have to do, just click on it, then go to this format sections. Here instead of showing it in the vertical form, you can select the drop down. Okay, and here just select the current value. Okay, then shrink it down and keep it as it is, then save the report, and you can now publish that report into the server. So whenever the end user will open this report, at that time you can see the report on the basis of the current year, and you do not need to change the current year every time. Just select it for once. Whenever it will come as 2024, at that time in place of 2024 it will, you can see the value as the current year. Okay, but now as it is 2023, that's why this data is showing as per the 2023, and if when it will come as 2024, automatically or dynamically this 2024 will be selected as the current year. Okay, so in this way we can create the top 5 state based on the sales value, and we can set the default slicer selection to the current year, and that is completely in dynamic form. All right, so before moving into the questions, let me show you the dataset that I have already imported into the Power BI desktop environment, that is called as the sales data. Okay, and if you really want to see what exactly this sales table contains, so just click on this table view, and here you can see this is a sales table, and inside this sales table it contains three columns. One is date column, next is state column, and third is sales column. Okay, and this date column contains the data from 1st January 2020 to till date. It means 1st December 2023. Okay, so now let's move to the report view. All right, and here you can see I have already created one visualizations, that is stack column chart. Okay, and in this column chart I have taken the state column. Okay, if you will expand this, here you can see I have taken this state column in the x-axis and the sales column in the y-axis. All right, and now we are able to see the chart like this. All right, so now our requirement is that here in this particular page we have to create a slicer which will by default show the current year and month data. So let me show you the results so that it will be easy for you to understand what exactly we want to create. Alright, so this is the chart visual that I have already explained to you, and instead of this we have to create one slicer visual where it should be by default show the current year and month data. And here you can see this is the current year and month data, right? And it is by default selected, correct? Today is 1st December 2023, so the year is 2023 and the month is December, right? So this is the 2023 and December month, correct? That's why this checkbox is automatically selected. All right, so now let's see how we can create this type of slicer where the current month and year will be by default selected. Okay, So now as you can see here, this is a free speech, and here we have already imported one table called as the sales table, and inside this sales table we have only three columns, as already we have discussed: date column, sales column, and the state column. All right, and by the help of these three columns I have created this stack column chart. Okay, in the x-axis I have taken the state, and in the y-axis I have taken the sales column. All right, now our requirement is we have to create a slicer which will be by default show the current year and month data, right? So to achieve this goal, first of all you have to click on this three dot and you have to go to this get more visual. All right, then here you have to search for slicer. All right, then click enter, then just scroll down, and in the below part you can see a slicer called as the pre-selected slicer, right? So just click on it, then click on this add button to add this particular slicer visual into our Power BI desktop environment. Okay, so I have already imported this slicer into the Power BI desktop environment, so let me show you. Here you can see this is the pre-selected slicer that we have imported from the marketplace. Okay, then just click on this particular chart and add this into this canvas area. All right, and remember this chart visual take three arguments to give you the result. First one is field, then next is pre-selection, and third one is date is state. Okay, but before that what you have to do, first of all you have to go to the transform data, and inside this Power Query editor, as you can see here, this is a sales table, and in this sales table we have only three columns: date, state, and sales, right? So the first step that we have to do is we have to create two column here. One is for the year column and second is for the month column. All right, so for that just right click on this date column, then click on duplicate column. All right, then again right click on it and click on duplicate column. Got it? Then first just rename this to year, then enter. Then here again double click on it and rename it as month, then enter. Okay, then again click on it, then right click on it, then go to the transform, and here just select the year. Got it? And now here you can see we have successfully changed this particular column into the year value. Okay, same way here just click on it, then right click on it, then click on transform, then click on month, then again click on month name. All right, and as you can see here we have already transformed this column into the month name. Okay, so now the next step is just select this year and month. All right, in this sequence, then right click on it, then merge this column. Okay, then here just select as custom and give the hyphen over here, then again click on OK. And now here you can see we have created one merged column by taking the help of year and month column, correct? And the name is merged. All right, or we can rename it as the year underscore month, then click enter. Okay, then click on this close and apply tab. All right, and then it will take you to the Power BI desktop environment. And now as you can see here we have successfully created one particular column called as the year and month, right? Then now again you have to create another column in this Power BI desktop environment, all right, on this table. So just click on this table, then right click on it, then click on new column. Okay, then rename it as year underscore month underscore code. Okay, then equal to, and now here you have to enter one dex formula called as the format. Okay, and you have to write this to create the new column. Okay, so let me explain what we have written here. We are converting the date column of the sales table into this YYYYMM format. That's why we have created this particular column. Okay, then click enter. So now let me show you this data year month code. So for that just click on this table view, and here you can see this is the month year month code. This is the combination of year, that is 2022. Here you can see this is the year 2022, and this is the month, right, that is January. That's why we have written as 01, correct? Why it is coming as 01 instead of 1? Because we have taken the format as That's why here we are able to see the 01. Okay. In that same format, we have created the entire year month code for every year and month column. Then go to this report view. All right. Then now again we have to create another measure in this particular sales table. So for that, just click on it, then right click on it and click on new measure. Then rename it as pre-selected underscore value. All right, then equal to, and here you have to write the dex functions that is called as the max. Okay, and inside this max text functions you have to pass the column name that is year month code column of the sales table. Okay, and this column we have created recently, correct? So it will give you the result of the maximum value of this particular column. All right, then here you have to enter the equal to symbol, then again you have to write the dex function called as the year, and inside this year dex functions you have to pass the functions that is today function. Okay, so it will give you the result of the today's date year. It means today is the 1st December 2023. So out of that we have to extract here, that's why you have the we have written the dex functions that is year, right? So this entire dex functions will give you the result as the 2023, correct? Then we are multiplying this 2023 with the help of 100. So it will give you the result as 202300, right? This highlighted value will give you the result as the 202300. Okay. Then we are adding that value with the month value, today's month value. So today is the 1st December, right? So out if you will extract the month from that, so what will it will give the result as 01, right? So we are adding 202300 plus 01. Okay, this will give the result as the 01. So we are adding these two value together. Okay, this value and this value. All right, so what exactly we are doing here, we are giving this result into this part and we are giving this result into this pre-selected value part. All right, then click enter. All right, and here you can see we have successfully created this measure. Okay, so now just click on this particular visualizations or the slicer that we have taken, that is called as the pre-selected slicer. Okay, and inside this field parameter, what we will do, we will pass this year month column that we have created. All right, then in the pre-selections value we will put this measure that we have created, that is called as the pre-selected value. Okay, then in the data status, what you have to do, we have to keep the status. Okay, so for that what you have to do, you have to click on this enter data. All right, and just rename this table name as the status. Okay, and rename this column name as the flag. All right, and here you have to enter true, and then again here you have to enter the false. Okay, then click on this load button. Now here you can see we have successfully added this status table, and inside this it contains one column that is flag, right? So again click on this particular visualizations, then scroll down and in the data status just drag this flag column of the status table and drop it over here. All right, but still you are not able to see the output. Why it is? Just click on this see details. Okay, and from this error we are able to see this error is showing due to the data type, right? So just close this error. Okay, then click on this year month column that we have created. This is in the text format. Okay, same way if we will click on this code format, at that time here you can see the format is text. So in place of this text, just change the data type to whole number. Okay, then click on yes, and boom, now here you can see this is the output, and I have not selected this December 2023. This value has been selected automatically, right? Here you can see this checkbox is already been selected, right? So today is the 1st December 2023, that's why here it is selected by default for 2023 December. All right, so if you will deselect this, then this chart will show the data for entire year, right? For entire year and month value. But again, if you will click on this particular refresh button, automatically this value will be selected. Okay, suppose today is the 1st December 2023, that's why this value is by default selected, correct? But once it will be changed to 1st January 2024. At that time, automatically this selected value will be January 2024. Okay, so I know this format is looking not good. Okay, so just click on this particular slicer, then go to this format section. Okay, and just click on display, and instead of list just click on drop down. All right, and now here you can see today is the 1st December 2023. That's why December 2023 value is by default selected. All right, then next what will happen if this date will change to 1st January 2024. At that time here you can see the value as the 2024, and in place of month you can see the January, and everything will be done automatically. All right, you do not need to change every time. Got it? So in this way we can create a slicer which will by default show the current year and month data. All right, so before moving into the questions, let me show you the dataset that I have already imported into this Power BI desktop environment, that is called as the EMP detail. Okay, so if you want to see the data, what exactly this table contains, so just click on this table view, and here you can see this employee detail table contain total 4 columns. Okay, and those are employee ID, name, email ID, and salary. Okay, these are the 4 columns that we have. All right, now let's go to the report view and let's see what is the question. Okay, so the question is, how can we extract all the username from the email address using DAX in Power BI? It means this employee detail table contain one column called as the employee ID, right? So from this employee ID column, we just want to extract only the username. Okay, so username means, suppose this is the email ID, that is deep101@gmail.com, right? So before at the rate, whatever text or the value that we have, that is called as the username, right? So for the first this email ID, the username is deep101. Okay, likewise here you can see another email ID, that is suraj.da@gmail.com, correct? So in this email ID we can get the username as the suraj.da, right? In this way we have to extract all the username from this particular email ID column, and that is by the help of DAX function. Okay, so this is the requirement. Okay, now let's see how we can achieve that. All right, so for that let's move to the report view first, then just expand this email detail table to see all the columns. Okay, then click on it, then right click on it and click on new column to create another new column on this particular table. Okay, or also you can click on this table view, then just click on new column. Okay, then rename it as username. All right, then equal to, and now we have to use the DAX functions called as the find. All right, then click enter, and as you can see here, this find DAX functions return the starting position of one text string within another text string. All right, and remember this find DAX functions is completely case sensitive. Okay, and here you can see this find text function take 4 argument. First is find text. It means what text exactly we want to find. So we want to find the at the rate from this email ID first. All right, so just write down the at the rate. All right, then give the comma, but here it is showing the error because here we have to give the semicolon. Okay, because this is the text value. Got it? Then the second argument is within text, within which text we want to find this at the rate, right? So here we have to enter the column name, that is email ID of the employee detail table. All right, then next we have to again give the comma. Then the third argument is starting position. It means from what position this find DAX functions will start finding this at the rate value. All right, so I am giving the starting position as 1. All right, then again give the comma. Then last argument is not found. If this at the rate is not found within this email ID column of the employee detail table, then what value you exactly want to return. So in that place I want to return 0. All right, then close the bracket, then click enter. And now here you can see this is the new column called as a username. Okay, this is the username. and it is giving the position of the at the rate inside this email id column. Okay, here you can see this is div101 at the rate. So here we can count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8, right? So in the eighth position this at the rate symbol is exist, that's why the output is here 8. Okay, likewise all the at the rate position here in this username column is giving. Okay, now our requirement is we have to find out the username from this email ID column, correct? But in this username column, we are only able to see the number, or you can say the position of the at the rate symbol in the each row of this particular column, right? So how we can get the username? So for that again we have to use another dex functions in this particular column. Okay, so that dex functions is called as the left. Okay, then click enter, and here you can see the left dex functions return the specified number of characters from the start of text string. All right, and this left dex function take two arguments. First is the text, okay, and next is the number of characters. So we want the value from this email id column, right? So in place of text we can enter the column name, that is email id. Okay, then give the comma. This is the first argument for the left dex functions, that is email id column of the employee detail table. All right, then the next argument is number of character, right? So in place of number of character we can give this value as the argument. Okay, this value will give the position of the at the rate symbol, right? So this is the value. All right, then simple close the bracket and click enter. And now you can see this username column contain the username along with at the rate, right? This is a div101 at the rate, right? This is the username along with at the rate. So that value is coming here, but now we don't want this at the rate, we need only this username part, right? So for that we have to remove this at the rate symbol from each and every row of the username column, correct? So for that simple, here you have to write -1. We just want to reduce the username column value to -1. Okay, then again click enter, and now here you can see this username column only giving the username value of the each row in this email id column, right? So in this way we can extract the username from this email id column using the dex function in Power BI. All right, so before moving into the questions, let me show you the dataset that I have already imported is called as the order dataset. Okay, and if you want to see the data, just click on this table view, and here you can see this order table contains so many different numbers of column. Okay, and out of that here you can see two column that is called as the product name and sales column. Okay, then let's move to the report view, and here you can see this is the question. Okay, and the question is, based on this order table, you have to find out the top 5 total sales by product name using the DAX formula. Okay, got it? So the question is you have to find out the top 5 total sales by product name using the DAX formula. All right. And at the end, you have to create a KPI card to show the total sales value. So now let's see how can we find out the top 5 total sales by product name using the DAX formula. So for that, first of all, you have to click on this order table. Okay, then just expand this, and here you can see in the below part we have a column as called as the sales, right? So we have to find out the total sales. So for that, just right click on this particular table, then click on the new measure, then rename it as the total underscore sales. Okay, then equal to, then here you have to use that sum dex functions to find out the total cells. Okay, because sum dex function is used to add all the numbers in a particular column, and it will take one argument that is called as the column name. All right, so in place of column name we will use the cells column of the order table. Okay, and just close the bracket, then click enter. And if you scroll down in the below part, you can see this is the measure called as the total cells that we have created recently. Okay, but our requirement is that we have to find out the top 5 total cells by product name, correct? and that is using the DAX functions, right? So how can you do that? For that, again, just click on this particular table, then right click on it and click on new measure. Okay, then rename it as the top n. Okay, then equal to, and here again we have to use the DAX functions that is called as the calculate, because we are going to calculate the top 5 total sales by product name. Okay, that's why we have used the calculate, and this calculate DAX functions is used to evaluate an expression in a context modified by filters. All right, and it will take the argument as the expression and filter. Got it? So in place of the expressions, what we are going to calculate, we are going to calculate the total cells, right? So this is the total cells measure that we have created, correct? So just click enter, then give the comma, and second argument is filter, right? So in place of filter, we just want to filter the top 5, right? Top 5 product name based on the sales value, right? So for that we can use the DAX functions called as the top n. So just click enter, and here you can see this top n DAX function is basically used to return a given number of top rows according to the specified expression, right? And it will take the argument like values, table, order by expression, and order, correct? So in place of value, we just want to find out the top 5, right? So for that, just write down here 5, then give the comma. Then second argument is table. So in place of table, you can take the column name as well. So for that, here we can use another DAX functions, that is value. Okay. Then inside this values DAX functions, we can give the argument as a table name or column name, right? So in place of that, we can use the column name as the product name. Okay, why we are taking the product name? Because here you can see, as per the question, we have to find out the top 5 total sales by product name. That's why we are using the product name column of the product table inside this value text functions. All right, then just close the bracket, then again give the comma, then third argument for top n is the order by expression. Okay, so in place of order by expression, we can use the total sales measure that we have created, right? This is a total sales. So in place of order by expressions, we can take the total sales measure. All right, then again give the comma, then next is order. So in which order you want to see the output. So for that you can use ascending or descending. So I am selecting the descending. All right, then close the bracket and again close the bracket, then click enter. And now if we'll scroll down here, you can see this is the another measure that we have created called as the top n, right? So now as per our requirement, we have to use our top 5 total sales by product name using DAX, and apart from this also we have to create a KPI card to show the total sales value. Got it? So how can we do that? For that, just click on this card visual, and inside this card visual just take the total sales first. Okay, this is the total sales. All right, but our requirement is we have to find out the top 5 total sales by product name using DAX, correct? So for that again you have to click on this card visual. All right, and in place of this card visual we have to show the top n values, okay, that we have calculated, and this is the output. So 153.39k is the top 5 total sales by product name. All right, so if you really want to check whether this value is correct or not, so just click on this particular card visual because it is showing the total sales. So in place of this total sales we can use the filter, like this is the product name, right? So just drag the product name column and drop it on the visual level filters for that particular card visual. Okay, then in place of basic filtering just click the top n, then here just enter the 5, because in this card visual we are showing the data for top 5 product, okay, based on the cells. So here also we will apply 5. Okay, then just drag the cells column and drop it by value section. Okay, then click on apply filter. So once you will click on this apply filter, this 2.30 million will be changes into 153.39k. Okay, so if both the values are showing the same result, then we can clarify that the output is correct, right? So just click on this apply filter, and here you can see this is 153.39k, and here also the value is 153.39k, right? So this card is showing the top 5 total sales by product name using the text formula. Alright, and this is the card visual that is showing the data as per the top n functions that is present on the by default mode in the filter sections. Alright, so both the value are equal, that's why we can give the 100% accuracy for the value that is coming here, that is top 5 total sales by product name using DEX is 153.39k. Okay, so in this way we can find out the top 5 total sales by product name using the DEX formula, and we are showing that total sales value inside this card visual here. Got it? Hey everyone, welcome back. So this is the another most important scenario based Power BI interview question that has been asked by the TCS interviewer during the recruitment process of Power BI developer job role. Okay, so before moving into the questions, let me show you the dataset that I have already imported, that is called as the sheet 2. Okay, so if you want to see the data, just click on this table view, and inside this sheet 2 here you can see we have only two columns. One is product column and another is sales column, or you can say the total sales, okay, for each product. So these are the two columns that we have inside this sheet 2 table. So based on this sheet 2 table, we have to calculate the rank of each product. We have to calculate the rank of each product based on their respective total sales figure. All right, so let's see how we can do this. So for that, first of all, you have to click on this particular table, okay, and inside this table we have to create one new measure. All right, so just click on new measure and rename it as rank value, okay, equal to, then here we have to use one dex functions that is called as the RANKX. Okay, this is the RANKX dex function which returns the rank of an expressions evaluated in the current context in the list of value for the expression evaluated for each row in the specified table. All right, and this rank x text function take the argument as the table expression, then value, then order, and dice. All right, so first argument is the table name, so the table name is called as the sheet 2. So here we have to pass the table name as sheet 2. Okay, then give the comma. After that, next argument is the expression. So on what basis we have to rank this product, that is based on the total sales value, right? So what we can do in place of this expression, we can use the dex functions, that is calculate, and inside this calculate dex function we will use the sum dex function. Okay, and then we will pass this column name inside this sum dex functions to calculate the total sales. All right, so here is the column, that is sales column of the sheet 2. So just click enter, then close the bracket, again close the bracket, again close the bracket. All right, then click enter, and now just drag this rank value measure inside this visual. Okay, now here you can see this is the another column that we have created, and the rank value column is showing the result at 1 for each row. Okay, so this is not the exact value. So why it is happening? Because rank x text function is assuming each record as one table. Okay, that's why it is giving 1 for each record. All right, so to get the exact result, what we have to do, again click on this rank value measure that we have created. Okay, and in this measure here we have to use one filter function that is called as the all. Okay, so what the all dex function will do, it will remove all the filter from this particular sheet 2 table. Okay, so just close the bracket and again click enter, and now here you can see the rank value has been changed to 1 2 3 4 like this, correct? So now if we will click on this ascending or descending drop down, then it will show the data like this. All right, so this is the highest value, that's why here it is showing 1. Then 990 is the second highest value, that's why here we are able to see as 2. But here in the third and fourth row the value is same, right? 820 and 820, that's why it is giving the rank as 3 and 3. But here in place of 535 it is showing the 5, because it is counting 1 2 3 4 5, correct? But the sequence is like 1 2 3 then 4, right? So in place of 5 it should come as the 4. Got it? So for that, again, we have to modify this measure. So here we have to use some more argument to this rankx text function. Okay, for that, just here give the comma. Okay, so for the rank x text functions, this is a table name and this value is the expression. Okay, the next argument that we are going to give is the value. So in place of value we will not give anything, so just give another comma. Okay, the next is order. So in place of order I want to see the data in descending order. Okay, then again give the comma. Then next argument is ties, right? So in place of ties we have two options, that is dense and skip. So just click on the dense text functions, then click enter. So now here you can see this is the exact ranking for each product based on the total sales. Okay, why it is? Because for the product machine the total sales is 2136, right? So this is the highest sale, right? So for that it is giving the rank as the 1. Then the next is 990 for phones, that's why here we are giving the rank as the 2. Okay, then this is 820 and 820, that's why it is giving the ranking as a 3 and 3. Then next value is 535. So previously it was showing as the 5, but now it is showing as the 4, right? This is happening due to this dense function. All right, likewise this rank column give the exact result, or it is giving the exact ranking for each product which is based on the total sales value. All right, so in this way we can give the rank for each product based on their respective total sales figure. All right. Hey everyone, welcome back. So this is the another most important scenario-based Power BI interview question that has been asked by the TCS interviewer during the recruitment process of Power BI developer job role. Okay, so before moving into the question, let me show you the data set that I have already imported into this Power BI desktop environment, and that is called as the sales detail. Okay, so if you want to see the data, just click on this table view, and here you can see inside this sales detail table we have only two columns. One is order date and next column is the sales column. All right, so based on these two columns we have to calculate the running total of sales over time, where the running total at any point represent the sum of sales from the start of the year to the current year. Okay, so in short, if I'll tell you, in this particular table visual, this is a table visual that I have already created. Okay, and in this table visual I have taken the year column from the order date and sales column. Okay, so in this table visual we have to create another column called as the running total column, and that running total column will show the data of cumulative total of running total of this sales column on the basis of this year column. Okay, so how can you do that? So before that, let me tell you what is running total, or we can call it as the cumulative total. Okay, so running total means the current year data along with the previous year data. Okay, for example, I want to find out the running total of 2015. So what will be the running total of 2015? It will be 279.46 plus the previous year, that is 247.84. Okay, like that, suppose I want to calculate the running total of 2017. So what will be the value? The value will be this 11,372.24 plus this amount plus this amount plus this amount. Okay, that will be the running total of 2017. Okay, so I want that running total value in a new column called as the running total. So let's see how can we calculate that running total, or called as the cumulative total column, in this particular table visual. All right, so for that, what you have to do, first of all, you have to click on this particular table, and in this table, we have to create a new measure. Okay, so just right click on it, then click on new measure. Okay, and then just rename it as running total. Okay, then equal to, and after that here we have to use one dex function that is called as the sumx dex function. Okay, where we are using this sumx dex functions because it returns the sum of an expressions evaluated for each row in the table. Okay, these sumx text functions work with row level, that's why we are using sumx here. Okay, so sumx text functions take two arguments, that is table and expression. So in place of table we will use the sales detail table. So this is the sales detail table, but before that we will use one filter text functions on this table. Okay, all right, And let me tell you why we are using this filter dex function, because we have to filter something from this particular sales detail table. Okay, and filter dex function take two arguments, that is table and filter expression. So this is the table name, then give the comma. Okay, the next argument is the filter expression, right? So in place of filter expression we will write order date column is less than or equal to max of order date column. Okay, then close the bracket and again close the bracket for this filter text function. Okay, then again give the comma. All right, then the next argument is expression for this SOMX text function. Okay, so in place of table we will have used this entire thing, and for the expression part of SOMX we will use here as sales column of the order detail table. All right, then close the bracket and click enter. Then now just drag the running total column inside this table visual. Okay, but here you can see the value is not coming properly. This value is exactly same as the sales column, right? But we need the running total on this particular column. So for that, again click on this running total measure, okay, that we have created. And here in place of sales details table we will use another text functions, that is all. Okay, why we are using all? Because it will remove all the filter that have been applied inside this sales detail table, and here we will close it. Okay, then just again click enter, and now here you can see we are getting the exact result. So let me explain you how this statement work, and specifically this particular statement. And as you can see here, this is the order date of the sales table first we have taken, right? And if the order date of the sales table is less than or equal to maximum of the order column of the sales table, then we have to calculate the sum x to find out the running total. Okay, for example, currently we are in 2016. All right, and I want to find out the running total of 2016. Okay, as I have written here, I want the order date of the sales detail table. So we will consider now 2016 is the order date of the sales table currently. All right. So if 2016 is less than or equal to maximum of the order date of the sales table. So as I have already told you, currently we are in 2016. So the maximum date for this particular column is 2016. Okay. So now if 2016 is less than or equal to 2016, then here this is the current date, that is order date, but the maximum date is also the same like 2016, right? That's why if 2016 is less than or equal to 2016, then we have to perform the sum x text function on top of that. It means if we want to calculate the running total of 2016, then we have to calculate the previous 2 years sales along with this current year sales. Okay, that is 247.84 plus 279.46 plus 2325.84, and the amount, or we can say the running total, is 2853.14. All right, and now here you can see we are getting the exact result, right? For 2014 we are getting the same value, that is 247.84, because previously we don't have any data for 2012-13 like that, right? And for 2014 we are getting as 527. So how can we get this 527? If we will add 247 plus 279, we will get the value as 527, right? Like that, for 2016, how you are able to get this 2853.14, that is the summation of the current year, that is 2016 plus 279.46 plus 247 plus 84, right? If we will sum these three values, then we will get the 2853.14. Likewise, in this column we got the exact running total value for each value of the sales column. All right, so thanks for watching, take care, bye bye.